All right, I'm a little vertically challenged, so all right. Hi, everybody. So I'm Natalie Bergman. I have been dreaming of writing, and I have been writing for many, many years. Prior to this, I have been writing screenplays, both TV pilots and feature films. And I love to write about historical time periods, and they are often very hard to sell because they cost a lot for the costumes and the period settings. And so I pivoted and I took my script for Pearlbound and turned it into a novel. And in doing so, not only did I discover the joy of writing about the interiority of characters as opposed to just what you see visually on the screen, but it was just such a wonderful, nuanced experience. So it was amazing. And really all the books I write, all of the screenplays I've written, all have one theme, which is that I'm interested in telling stories about women that history tries to erase. And that crosses over different time periods, different cultures, different races, different classes, but that's the through line in pretty much everything I write. And in particular with Pearlbound, it's a coming-of-age novel. It's set in the Gilded Age in upstate New York, and it focuses on a young woman who is beginning to discover her own power. And as her power starts to evolve, the danger of having that power and being self-driven and being self-autonomized really begins to smack back at her. And so even though it's taking place 100 years ago, the experience that she has back then and the constraints, the social constraints, the economic constraints, and the danger that she gets put into are very much similar to what people still undergo, particularly women undergo in this day and age. So I think there's a lot of commonality, also the fact that it's the Gilded Age, economic inequality. We're certainly living through that right now. And it's just a fun, thriller, suspenseful ride. And I think that as people read it, they also have the opportunity to reflect on their own experience and their own power and ways in which their personal autonomy has been challenged as they try to assert themselves and live their best lives. So with that being said, here's the cover. I'm going to go ahead and just read a couple of pages for you. Chapter 1, A Spark in the Snow, Upstate New York, winter of 1883. Hunger twisted my stomach, sharp and unrelenting, a cruel reminder that promises don't fill bellies. The wood smoke stung my eyes, and an icy wind whistled through the cracks in our cabin's walls as if to jeer at us. Sean had promised me that life in America would be better than our cramped Dublin tenement, if only. Back home, peat fires had warmed body and soul. Neighbors had packed together like herring, their songs and their stories slipping through walls as thin as paper. Here we faced the wilderness, hunger, bitter cold, all alone. I turned to the hearth where our little lass sat and played with a scrappy tabby. Eve, just 3, giggled as she tormented the poor beastie with her sticky fingers. I hate cats. During the summer, I had tossed it out of the cabin more times than I could count. But when the snow arrived, I relented. He kept the rodents at bay, and he kept our child entertained. Eve had Sean's mischievous green eyes and his red hair. Meanwhile, I'd spotted more than a few white strands in my own reflection lately. Sean's mother would have said white hairs come from guarding secrets. Lately, though, it felt like the secrets were guarding me, watching, waiting, whispering, when no one else could hear. My own mother had said such whispers ran in our blood, though the gift had skipped me like a stone across the water. With temperatures below freezing, Eve and I had spent the day cloistered inside. Sean had left at dawn to hunt, but now the sun bled out behind the mountains, painting the sky in bruised shades of purple and gray. I peered through the frost-rimed window, willing a shadow to emerge from the snow-covered woods. The acid tang of fear burned upward from my gut to my throat. Where was Sean? He should have been back hours ago. A cold sweat prickled at the back of my neck. My hands trembled as I gripped the edge of the window frame. I forced myself to turn away and keep busy, pulling out the last of the day's soda bread, a nub of butter, and my final jar of huckleberry preserves. The knife trembled in my hand as I sliced the bread, the silence pressing so heavy I could hear the crackle of wood burning and the faint scratch of something, mice perhaps, beneath the floorboards. I exhaled sharply and glanced over at Eve. She'd gotten up and stood now beneath the mantel, her sparkling green eyes fixed on a ceramic bird perched above, a fragile, glistening thing that seemed to shiver in the firelight. "I want," she whispered, her voice unnervingly low, almost hollow. A chill snaked down my spine, the same sensation that haunted my dreams. Dreams where shadows murmured secrets and voices I didn't recognize, always just before I woke, gasping in the dark. The room shifted almost imperceptibly, as though the air itself was holding its breath. Eve's gaze never left the bird as she whispered again, her voice colder now, sharper. "Jump." The tabby moved as if summoned, its muscles twitching beneath its fur like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. My breath caught in my throat as I watched its eyes glaze over with an unnatural sheen. Its sinewy body coiled, then sprang upward with impossible precision. One swipe of a paw, and the fragile bird tumbled, its gleaming surface catching the firelight like a falling star. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end. I'd seen Eve do strange things before, but this was different. This was control, pure and deliberate. The thought sent ice through my veins. All right.